I think for someone who's out there struggling in a toxic environment, I think the first thing that needs to happen is that you need to start looking at life as life has been writing itself out in order for you to become something greater.
I know life hasn't always been easy. Let's do a little bit of background story. Obviously, I know a little bit about the childhood, stuff like that, but I think we need to set the tone to let everybody know that it's possible for everybody.
For sure, man. So for me, a lot of people like to look at me and say, man, you're doing so many amazing things at 19 years young. But what the majority of people don't understand is that at an early age, the struggles and the problems that I had growing up as a kid, having a pretty rough childhood, being just bullied, hated, judged because of the way I look, all of that, all of those challenging obstacles molded me into the man I am today. Yeah. And for you, Stephen, you've had so many amazing obstacles in your life, but all of that molded you into where you are today. For me, the reason that I've been able to do so many amazing things at such a young age is because at an early age, I was born with a condition that 1% of human beings are born with. Like literally as a baby, my parents took me all around the world to all these different doctors trying to identify this weird condition that I was born with. And this condition, basically what it is I was born with like abnormalities. So my arms, just different parts of my body tend to be anything but normal. And I stood out amongst, I stand out amongst everyone. And growing up as a kid, you know, it's hard to fit in when you're being bullied in class, when you're being called the monster. And what that did at an early age for me is that it put me in a mentality of living for the validation of other people. Yeah. However, I think a lot of people can relate to that, because in today's society, there's people that live their entire lives looking for validation from others instead of giving that validation to themselves.
That's right.
And there came a day where I was watching this superhero film. It's the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. And at the end of the movie, he says, "This is my gift. This is my curse. I am Spider-Man." Yeah. And when I heard those words, I internalized them and viewed myself in that light. And I said, maybe the way God created me, maybe that wasn't a curse. But if it's not a curse, then what's the gift? Why is this a good thing? And that's when my entire perspective and the way I viewed myself completely changed, because now I was like, okay, yeah, God made me different. In order to make a difference, you have to be different. And now because I stand out amongst other people, now I have a platform to spread a message. I have a platform to help others. And I just, that's when my entire mindset completely shifted. And then from there, I viewed myself as my own superhero. And when you view yourself as your own superhero, nothing is impossible. So that's when I was like, all right, now let me go out there and let me go make a difference. Let me turn the thing that lights my soul on fire every single day, which is my passion for superheroes. Let me go and create a lifestyle around this. And now I've been able to partner with companies like Disney, Marvel Studios, Warner Brothers, DC Comics. The biggest in the game at 19 years young, when literally I was growing up playing with the toys, dressing up as these characters. And now I'm collaborating with the companies that are producing this content. And this journey has been, it's been so crazy. It's been a hard one, but a beautiful one. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Dude, I love it. I absolutely love it. I love the radiant energy you give off as well. It's clear that you fought through what I think is the number one battle that people have to overcome, which is the belief that they can't do it, or they can't make it, or they're not worth it. And, you know, one of the things that I picked up on early on is, you know, and I experienced this too. It's when you change the quality of your question that you get a different answer, and you can kind of pivot that. And while you're also making an impact working with all those name brands, Disney, Marvel, so on and so forth. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've already built a following that's in the millions. Are you serious, dude?
So, Stephen, first of all, thank you so much for the compliment about energy. And I think that's where this all stems from. This all stems from energy. There's so many people out there that are trying to fake it, and they're trying to like read off lines and be something they're not. But when you're putting yourself out there in the digital world of social media and you're just being unapologetically yourself, people resonate with that energy. And energy is something you cannot fake. You can fake reading off lines. You can fake being fluent in the way you speak. But guess what? I'd rather watch someone that stutters 1,000 times, but you could feel the passion coming from the way they talk, than watching someone who's all proper, but you can tell that they're not really passionate about what they're talking about. So the way I've been able to build a following of in the millions is by simply just being myself, by speaking about the topics that I'm passionate about. And when you have other people that are just as passionate and enjoy these things that I'm addressing, well, then the energy is taken to a whole nother level. Because if I'm hyping you up, Steven, and I'm getting hype, well, then our energies are meeting in the middle, and it creates something so raw, real, and just amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, part of the reason that I invited you on the show is because you and I didn't know each other at the time. We had some mutual connections that we didn't know we had. I was hosting a room, or I was in a room on Clubhouse with a couple of good friends of mine, Evan and Bo and Mark and all those guys. You got up to the mic at 19 years old, and I'm like, this kid's anointed. This kid's got something. And I reached out to you through Instagram. I was like, dude, you want to come on the show? And you're like, yeah, let's go. I'm like, let's go. Rock, right? That's amazing. You know, one of the things that it's easy to see, and I think listeners and viewers will get out of this more than anything else, is this theory of resonation, right? You got somebody that's kind of vibrating or kind of like just exuberating all this passion and energy. You can't help but let it affect you a little, right?
It's contagious.
It is. It really is contagious, right? It's the good side of Venom's like costume that he can't get off, right?
Exactly that. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that, you know, in a world where there's so much hate and negativity, and you don't have to go far to read a headline that makes you feel uncertain, that makes you feel just like down and just like makes you feel like we're living in a toxic world. But then it's all about creating the small corner of life where people can go to and feel that, just that positivity, and feel happy and feel energetic. And for me, energy is everything. Like you look at people who are depressed, and for us, I'm obsessed with patterns. And for myself, when I'm in a feeling negative emotion, when I'm in my head, my energy tends to be low. I tend to be like shallow, my shoulders down, and I'm like in bed, and I'm like struggling to do anything. But when I'm at my peak level of productivity, when I'm at my best, like right now, you can see in the way I'm moving, I'm constantly moving my body because
your cape is flapping in the wind, dude.
I'm ready, bro. Like, let's go. This is it. It's life. Energy is life. And this is what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, let's break down the superheroes, because, you know, you and a couple, like Brad's a good friend of both of ours, right? And you guys study superheroes like nobody's business, right? I would tell you that I'm Wolverine in the Marvel universe.
I see it.
5'5", gritty, you know, got my claws are hanging on the wall over there, literally. And then I would probably say I'm more like Batman in the DC universe. So when you take those two together, what does that tell you about me?
So one of the things that it tells me about you is that you are a man that is obsessed with conquering your fears. You look at a character of like Batman, and the entire reason he's Batman is because his biggest fear is bats. And he wants other people to share that same fear, which is why he dons the cape and becomes Batman. There's this beautiful quote from the Batman Begins. And the quote says, "In order to conquer fear, you must become fear." And that's what that tells me about you, Steven. You are a go-getter. You are not someone who's going to let fear hold you back. If you're afraid of, let's say, skydiving, you're going to be the first person out of that plane, diving straight in and just conquering the things that hold you back.
Yeah, totally. Well, look, we start looking at superheroes in general, right? I think one of the reasons that people resonate with superheroes, and it doesn't matter male or female, it doesn't matter where you come from. There's in almost every single instance, someone can resonate with a superhero. You know, for yourself, it might be Spider-Man, right? I got a young man that works for me named Connor. He's all about being Iron Man and Tony Stark. Him and Brad can fight it out, right? We've got Bo, who's like the guy from the leader from Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic, right? We've got, you know, you can go down the laundry list, like, you know, this massive live event that I've got coming up, which I'm going to talk to you about offline, that we've got cooking. One of the things I'm doing is I'm making something special for each of the people that are speaking at this event, including finding out what their number one superhero is to give them a special. when someone tells me what their favorite superhero is, it tells me about who they are as a person, right? It tells me kind of what they stand for. And I think the reason that people resonate with superheroes so much is because it's the living illustration of the aspiration they desire to be, right? It's, for Wolverine, for example, you look at him, like he's strongest when he's vulnerable, even though he's like super tenacious, right?
Mhm.
You look at someone like Batman, who's always quietly pulling behind the strings, who doesn't show off. So, I've managed to be a person who's blessed financially. And as a result, I don't do the whole, look at my car, you don't need to see that stuff, right? I'd rather you hear the principles that I'm sharing kind of thing, right? When we start breaking down the superhero, let's like think through the top 5 things that we can all glean from superheroes, something that elevates our life. What do you think number 1 would be? What would be the number 1 thing that would help somebody elevate their life by looking at superheroes?
So one of the things that I think would help anyone out when it comes to looking at superheroes and in trying to apply the traits and the principles that these characters carry to our own lives is to first view yourself as a superhero.
That's right.
You look at the greatest athletes in the world, LeBron James, Serena Williams, Muhammad Ali, Conor McGregor, you name it.
Yeah.
If you look at them and the way they carry themselves before a match, it's unparalleled to anything I've ever seen. They're ready to go. They're puffing their chest. And
Conor McGregor walks around like he's a
exactly. Conor, he has his own walk now.
Yeah. It looks like he's a rooster or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like you look at the greatest achievers on the planet and you see the way they carry themselves. I'm sitting here wondering, why don't we carry ourselves the same way?
Yeah.
If we want to achieve that level of success in our own industry, in our own field, why don't we look at ourselves every single day as our own superheroes?
Yeah.
That's why I wake up out of this twin bed in the morning and I'm blasting my music. I'm walking around like ready to just crush it and take this life and make it exactly how I want it. But the first step in looking to superheroes for inspiration is to first look at yourself as your own superhero.
Ooh, that's good. That's good. Well, how does someone do that if they've been struggling with beliefs and they've been, maybe they grew up like I did in a very difficult environment. Parental role model is not really sure who they were at the time, all this kind of stuff, kind of hopping around from home to home and all that kind of stuff. If someone's in that environment, what can they do like today to kind of take on the modalities of a superhero?
Well, the first thing I would say is there has to be a massive shift in beliefs. For me, when my life completely changed, it's when I shifted my beliefs of myself and who I was as an individual.
Yeah.
I think for someone who's out there struggling in a toxic environment, I think the first thing that needs to happen is that you need to start looking at life as life has been writing itself out in order for you to become something greater.
Yeah.
You look at the greatest superheroes of all time. They all had to go through massive amounts of suffering in order to become their own superhero.
That's right.
Batman had to lose his parents at such a young age and grow up with trauma, with PTSD. But guess what? That's how he became Batman and is standing amongst the Justice League, which are actual gods. And he's just a regular dude.
Yeah.
You look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man had to lose Uncle Ben. He had to lose the people he cared about most in order to become one of the greatest superheroes of all time. So you look at each and every single one of these characters and they had to go through extreme amounts of suffering, through extreme amounts of pain, through extreme obstacles in order to become greater. So if you're someone who's struggling out there, well then, guess what? Right now, your story is being written like that you can become your own superhero.
That's right. That's right. I feel like we should just be dropping mics left and right. Let me get some more pins. Well, look, so your generation specifically, the what I refer to as the youth generation. So I actually have I have 2 sons that are basically your age. And I had one of them on camera with me today for some YouTube content we're filming, which he's been doing great and amazing, which I'm very proud of him for. But up until the point of literally getting ready to leave high school, it was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know who I'm going to be. I don't feel like, and he wanted to go cower and hide. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think your generation, more than any other generation that I've seen, is so used to, iPhones and social media and Instagram and TikTok and that stuff used in moderation and used the correct way can be very beneficial. Right. At the same time, it almost steals from the search of becoming the superhero. You know, even if we step outside of Marvel and DC for a minute, you look at the Luke Skywalkers of the world and stuff like that. There's always an internal searching, there's always a crushing, and there's always an emerging. So if we talked about the second thing specifically that would create a superhero within you, what would it be?
I think it's definitely confidence. And like you mentioned, in today's day and age, a lot of the youth is growing up looking to social media for validation. And like I mentioned earlier, I grew up not in necessarily I didn't have a childhood where social media was like this big thing, but I was still looking for validation amongst my peers in school. So now people are searching for validation left and right, and they have it at the tips of our fingertips every single day, 24/7.
Yeah.
So my second thing would be confidence. A hero that perfectly exuberates this is the character of Tony Stark. You look at Tony Stark, he is just a walking badass. And he has this beautiful quote from Iron Man 3, which I hold so close and dear to my heart every single day. But the quote, I believe it's something along the lines of, you can take away my toys, you can take away my house, you can take away my suits. But one thing you can never take away from me is that I am Iron Man. And that holds true to so many people in today's day and age, because there's a lot of people that are out there that are extremely wealthy. But what would happen if they were to lose that wealth? Yeah. Would they still be confident in the value that they have inside? Would they still be confident in who they are? And that's why Tony Stark says that quote. And that is prime confidence, because when you can lose everything in your life, from the cars, from the money, from the relationships, when you lose everything and be stripped down to who you are as a human being, and still be confident in your ability to show up and provide value to the world, well, then that is when you'll be set for life. That is when you'll be able to go out in any situation that you struggle with, or through any obstacle you face, and just power through it. Yeah. And if you can't find the way, guess what? You're going to make a way, because you know that's what you're capable of.
That's right. I have actually done that twice, by the way. Lost everything and had to start over again. And both of those experiences taught me a whole lot. And both of those experiences brought me here. And one of the things I'm hoping that the audience can hear and resonate is, let's take Iron Man 1, for example. This is why superheroes matter, right? We can learn a lot from superheroes, because superheroes do experience similar sufferings that we experience even today, right? In Iron Man 1, Tony Stark is completely arrogant. He's a complete jerk face. By the time we get to Avengers Endgame, he's the most humble, confident leader I think I've ever experienced. How does someone know if they're in the arrogance mode versus the humble confidence mode?
That's a great question. And I think it all has to do with the relationships around you. In the first Iron Man film, Tony Stark is this arrogant, just confident billionaire. Yeah. And when everything goes haywire, when he loses everything, when he gets captured by these terrorists, when he literally loses everything, he's looking around and he realizes that there's not many relationships around him that he can really lean on. There was a handful. There was Happy, there was Pepper, and there was his best friend Rhodey. And after
and Jarvis, that's about it.
And Jarvis. and after going through everything that he went through, that's when he had the realization that it's not about, the only thing that really matters in life is the people around you and the quality of those relationships. That's why moving forward in the next Avengers movie, that's why he's willing to sacrifice himself for the entire planet, because Tony Stark realizes that the only way to truly make an impact and make a difference in this world is to become something more than just yourself.
Ooh, that's good.
And then when we get to Avengers Endgame, he makes that tragic sacrifice, but ends up saving the entire universe. Yeah. But that was the principle Tony Stark was willing to die on. He was willing to die believing that being something more than yourself, that is the most important thing. And it doesn't matter if he loses the life he wanted with his daughter and with his Pepper, because now his daughter's going to grow up with that same belief. Yeah. When we are something outside of ourselves, when we live to serve, and again, it's not about us, it's about helping others. Yeah. That is when we can become the greatest superhero of all time. And that's when Tony Stark became the greatest hero in the entire Marvel universe. It wasn't the powers that made him Iron Man. It was the sacrifices that he made. It was the change, the growth that we saw this character go through over the course of a decade that led him to that sacrifice that he made in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and the funny thing, I was just thinking about, you were talking about the relationships. Captain America spent just as much time mentoring him as they did challenging him. And, you know, it's when you have to confront your biggest belief, your biggest limiting belief, that you have to get the most serious. That's when you actually see an Iron Man and a Cap go head to head kind of thing. You know, Cap's trying to stand up for Bucky and say, hey, look, this guy's salvageable. He's like, he's not salvageable. Come here, you know, kind of thing. I love it. Well, let's step on to the third thing that we can take away from a superhero's journey and how we can apply it to our lives. What do you think the third thing would be?
So the third thing I would definitely take away is to, again, I kind of reiterated this in my last point, but to become something outside of yourself. Yeah. Like, we are so powerful on our own. We can go out there and we have the power to create our lives exactly how we want it. But at the end of the day, what is that all for? At the end of the day, what is the legacy that we are leaving behind for our kids, for the next generation? And I don't want to be remembered to be someone that just went out there and created his life. I want to be remembered as someone who just went out there and helped people and put a smile on people's faces, because that lives on forever. That lives on more than our entire lifetimes. So I guess the third thing would be to become something more than just yourself. Stephen, there's many people that could have achieved the level of financial success that you have achieved, and they would have rode off into the sunset, traveling the world. But no,
there's no legacy in that.
There's no legacy in that. And that's why we're sitting here having this powerful conversation with the hopes of impacting so many people, because that is the real legacy. Yeah. That is the impact. That is what superheroes are all about. They're not just about, you know, being confident, being these things that we should look up to. There are these beings that are humble. They're these beings that just live to give. And when you live to give, life will give. It's crazy, man. Like, that's when I find my life to be the most prosperous. Yeah. When I give, especially when in my head, my mind is telling me like, man, Matt, I don't know if you could afford that. I don't know if you could, you know, do that. I don't know if you like have the time to help that person out. Yeah. But it's when I break through those mental barriers of scarcity that I'm able to achieve the most prosperity I've ever been able to experience. Yeah. And that's the game. But again, kindness always wins. Kindness, empathy, love. That is our greatest superpower. And the only way for us to truly experience that, it's when we live to put a smile on other people's faces.
I love it. You know, I would say it. I've always said it this way. It's something I've been saying for a long time, that the greatest purpose in life you ever have is serving the person you used to be. And the next greatest principle after that is make sure you're always building a legacy that outlives you. I think that it's easy to get sucked into being short-sighted. It's easy to get sucked into believing you're not worth the effort. It's easy to get involved with the you know, kind of the wrong people and the wrong crowd that's kind of suck you into limiting beliefs. And what I've discovered about the people around you, a lot of times if people are saying you can't do something or you shouldn't even try, it's not because you shouldn't, it's because they're scared to do it themselves. They're scared to try. So I learned this the hard way with my father, for example, who's a great dad. He was a great grandfather. He's an amazing man now. He struggled early on in life, and he would admit that with no problem. But one of the things that was a byproduct of me taking that faith step, that okay, I'm gonna attempt this, much like you did when you said, you know what, I'm Supes, baby, we're going on, right?
Let's go.
Right? When we started doing that, my father came back to me almost 5 years later. And where he had originally said, you know, it's not going to work out. I don't want to watch you go through this. It's going to be painful. It hurts, because he'd had a business that had started and did really well and then failed pretty much abruptly and immediately. And I went back, no, this is something I got to do. You don't understand. It's something I got to do, kind of thing. And that's where I started the first company out of the trash piles, kind of thing, that became essentially what allowed me to even do all this and then develop other businesses. 5 years after that, he comes back and he says, I'm so proud of you. I was wrong. Secretly, I always knew you could do it. I was just scared for you because I was scared for me. Right? I think the greatest thing that we can do is being, you know, as part of the superhero step. And I'm going to add the fourth one just for fun. And you can tell me if I'm wrong. But the fourth step would be willing to be a beacon of hope for other people. and unfortunately become a beacon of hope for other people, you have to step outside of yourself and just start taking chances, much like you did, right? I'm sure the first video that you did, you're like, I'm talking to the camera. I'm here. I'm here. What am I going to say? Oh, right. Let's shut it off. Let's try again. Right. So what do you think is the importance of being a beacon of hope and just kind of being the embodiment of a superhero?
I think that's exactly what we're here for. This is what we're here to do. We are here to embody these superheroes. So like that, those that are struggling, those that are in a bad place, those people can look up to us as examples. I believe that in this life, you are one of two things. You are either a warning or an example. And I strive my life every single day to live as that example, because one day my kids are going to look at my life, and I don't want there to be regret when I'm telling my kids the story of my life and the way I did things. So that's why I'm going to live and strive every day to be that example, to be that beacon of light for other people. And I think for me, especially at my age, to do what I've done, I just think now the next generation can look at this 19-year-old kid who's doing all of this crazy stuff. At 19 years old. He's not this 40-year-old business executive that has been in the game for 30 years. No, he's just a 19-year-old kid who decided to pick up his camera one day and speak his truth. And now he's traveling the world. Now he's collaborating with the biggest brands on the planet. And now it's almost like, again, tying it back to superheroes, I feel like in a way by me putting it on myself and putting that pressure on myself to become that beacon of light for others, now I am the shield for those other kids that are now looking to me as something that's achievable. Yeah.
I love it. I love it, dude. No, I think you're right. I think, when it comes down to being a superhero, I think there's real life superheroes all around us. And it's not necessarily the person with the baddest car, even though Batman may have a badass car, right? It's not whether or not you can fly or not. It's whether or not you can give all you have in the service of others. Are you willing to go that extra mile? I mean, at 19 years old, dude, you're just at the cusp of your career. I mean, literally just at the cusp of it, right? I'm thinking you're probably already in Iron Man 12. Like, seriously, like you're that way ahead. You've already got the new Spider-Man outfit from our buddy Tony Stark. You're already swinging through the place, and you kind of remind me of that young Spider-Man, and in that he's so innocent, like his heart's so innocent. He's so pure. He so means well. That meaning well can get you into trouble from time to time, but it always pays off in the end. Sometimes you have to do it. He has to sacrifice, right, on a regular basis. He has to choose, protecting many while sacrificing what he wants most, right? When you start looking at those types of things, I think there is an element of being an inspiration, right? I'm proud to have you on the show because I want my own kids to see this, right? I want future kids to see this, because there is a truth in that. If you put yourself out there and you don't care what anybody else thinks, and you just put yourself out there authentically and honestly, not trying to fake being Superman when you're really an Aquaman, right? If you would just do that, not only will you be successful, but you'd also make an amazing impact and open up future doors and like windows for yourself on a consistent basis. So when you start thinking about all the things that is starting to encompass Matt Supes Ramos, right? When you start thinking about all that kind of stuff, what do you think, at your end game, so to speak, what do you think you want your life to basically mean to other people?
So again, when it's all said and done, for me, I just want to be remembered as someone who left it all out there on the table. Yeah. Again, like the reason I work my butt off every single day is because I understand the value of time. Yeah. And I know that it's finite. I know that it's expiring. And even though I have this crazy life ahead of me, and the same way all of us watching here, we have so much time to go out there and take this life and create it for what we want it to be. We got to take action now. For all of us, the number one thing that fulfills us is when we serve others. Well, guess what? Those others are dependent on you and the actions you take in this very second. Yeah. So are you going to sit on your butt? Are you going to take another day off? Or are you going to get to work? Because the legacy that you want to leave behind is waiting for you. And you just have to go out there and seize that every single day.
I love it, man. I love it, dude. Your energy again is infectious, man. I know people are gonna get a lot from it. Let's hit three specific limiting beliefs because, or at least mindsets that I want to tackle and use the superhero mentality to kind of break through it. First of all, let's deal with fear. What can someone take now from the superhero mentality in dealing with fear to overcome it?
So when it comes to dealing with fear, like it was said in the first Batman movie, in order to conquer fear, you must become fear. You must dive deep straight into the things that are holding you back.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that when we look at something that we are fearful of, we tend to sit back. We tend to not take action. We tend to think about it. And the only thing our brains are going to do is internalize those thoughts and enhance those fears and enhance all the crazy consequences that could happen if we were to take this certain action. But at the end of the day, that none of that is real. The only thing that's real is what's in front of you. And again, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit back and waste time? Or are you going to live as the example you could be and step up and face that fear like the badass you are?
That's right. That's right. You know, I want to piggyback on that too, because I had one of the Batman things popped up. And I think it was either Batman Begin. No, it was the one that Bane was in it. So it's Christian Bale as Batman. He's in the pit, in the hole that, you know, I forgot.
Bane
comes from. Yeah. It was coming. I was like, right? So he's in the hole that Bane was in, right? And he's tried to get out of the hole like 16 times. He's wearing a rope, right? And he's, you know, he goes over there, he jumps and he falls like, I don't know, what seems like endless times, right? He finally gets down. He's broken his back or busted his back several times. He's talking to the old guy that's in, you know, the old guru mentor in the hole. And the guy goes, you know, you cannot fear. He says, I do not. No, he said, you cannot fear death. He goes, I don't fear death. I fear dying in here. So my takeaway from that is I fear dying in here. I think your resolution, your resilience has to be greater than your fear to take a step. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, okay, then we'll fine then make the climb, but without the rope. You know, our good friend, Tony Robbins would say that you got to burn the boats. Yeah. You got to go after it. You got to go after it.
100% all in. And the beautiful thing about that scene is that what I took away from that scene is that it's only until we go 100% all in, full confidence, is that is when we will get exactly what we want. Yeah. We can't make the leap with 1 foot over there on the step. Yeah. We can't do that. The only way we're ever going to truly obtain whatever it is that we want is when we go 100% all in. But you got to know within yourself that no matter what happens, you are going to have it within yourself to bounce back stronger than ever, no matter what.
That's right. Well, all right, let's tackle the next belief. Comparison.
Let's go.
Comparison. What can a superhero teach us about comparing ourselves to other people?
So I think what a superhero can teach us about comparing ourselves to others is that we are all so vastly different. Yeah. Like you look at each and every single character, none of them are the same. They're all different in their abilities, in their problems, and the way they handle those problems. Each of these characters are different, but so are we. And that's the beautiful thing about it, because each of us has something to give and bring to the table that no one else can bring. Yeah. And I think that does so much more to our own individual confidence, knowing that it's up to us to show up and bring that value, because no one else can. No one else can bring that value the way we can. So again, we're all so different. We all have different gifts, different talents, different strengths, different weaknesses, different mentalities. Mm-hmm. We all interpret things differently, which leads to different solutions. So again, we got to stop comparing ourselves and take pride in who we are, because again, I'm a religious person. I thank God.
I'm there with you.
I thank God for creating me exactly the way he intended it. And our God created all of us to be different. And with that being said, we all have different gifts, different talents, different things we can bring to the table that no one else can give. So let's stop comparing ourselves to other people and just take pride in who we are, because we are the product of the King of Kings.
That's right. Amen to that. Third thing, isolation. What can superheroes teach us about being isolated from other people?
I think isolation is so powerful. I think it's when we are I think it's when we are isolated that we can truly tune out the world, tune out the external voices, and strengthen what's already in.
So isolation or reflection? Because isolation is
Gotcha.
You have nobody around you, and then the reflection is, hey, I'm on my journey. What do you mean?
So I mean, it's kind of a mixture of both. Like honestly, for me, the times where I kind of take a step back and reevaluate my life, I have to get away from the world. I have to get away from the people I love most.
Yeah.
And it's almost like Batman going to train in like the League of Shadows on like this little corner of the planet, just isolating ourselves from everything around us, isolating ourselves from the distractions to really just take a step back and reflect on what's inside. So like that, when we come back and return to the world we know and love, we can come back and be ready to serve like never before.
Dude, that's amazing. Dude, I have enjoyed hanging out with you. The time has just like flown by. We definitely have to be doing this, right? Well, look, so what's next for Matt Supes Ramos? What you up to now? What are you working on?
So right now I have so many awesome partnerships, sponsorships, just things and projects in the works. And for me, like moving forward, my main goal is to literally just continue to create life exactly how I say it's going to be created. It's something that I've done since day one. You know, when I first posted my first YouTube video, I was like, you know what? I'm going to hit those milestones. I'm going to hit those numbers. And now you can see here today, I have that 100,000 subscriber.
Look at you, buddy. Congratulations. That's amazing, dude.
Thank you so much, brother. And again, it's not just because of myself. It's because I've made life about more than myself. It's because I've taken my life and said, you know what? Like, screw me. It's about we. Let's show up. I'm going to live my life to serve other people, put a smile on other people's faces. And as long as I'm in the mentality of serving others to the best of my ability, well, then guess what? Life will return the favor. And it has every step of the way. And it's been so gratifying. And I'm just so grateful for this journey. I'm grateful for every single person that tunes in to the content, who engages with it, who shares it, because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to become better people. We're all just trying to get to another level. And I think we have to applaud ourselves every now and then. We have to pat ourselves on the back, because there are many people out there that are not trying to do that. So for the few of us that are, and trying to continuously better ourselves and get to that place where we are out there just serving as many people as we possibly can, nothing is more powerful than that. So I'm just, again, moving forward, I'm just going to continue to be in the mentality of giving, serving, and I know life will provide in the most unexplainable ways possible.
Yeah, amazing ways. Well, how can everybody else find out more about you?
So I'm all over social media. So
and he's not lying.
Yeah, like literally, like I just attack every single social media platform. So you guys can catch me on Instagram _Supes_, on TikTok, just Supes, on Twitter, The Real Supes, on YouTube, Supes, and then on Twitch, Supes Streams.
So he's Supes all day long.
All day long.
Well, Matt Supes Ramos, I have enjoyed hanging out with you, my friend. We have to do it again. In fact, when we hang up the call and we say our goodbyes, I'm going to hang on to you for just a second to talk to you for a hot minute. See what we can do here. Sound good?
Sounds good, bro. I'm so excited. Again, I could do this for hours, bro. Like I feel like you and I could just.
I think we're going to at some stage in the game. So,
bro, you and I could just go to Starbucks and sit there for like the entire day, and it'll feel like a 10-minute conversation. I just know it.
Oh, we're gonna have a blast. Well, look, we're gonna say our goodbyes, and I'm gonna hold on to you for a couple minutes. So much love, dude. Thank you so much for hopping on the show. I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to share this episode with a lot of people and see if we can blow it up even bigger.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Now go out there and become the superhero you always were. Let's go.
That's right. See ya. Dude, not enough can be said about such a young man doing so many wonderful things all at the same time. If you really love that interview, I know you're going to love this one right here. So check it out.
The poster behind me right here, it's a Iron Man 3 poster, and that's what I got when I came out to work with Downey. And it says, "To Brad, go Steel Town. All the best is in the Berg."